Since 2017, the Ebro Hydrographic Confederation has promoted a series of interventions in the abandoned heritage surrounding the Aragon River. The actions carried out have allowed to value and recover the Camino de Santiago as it passes through the village of Ruesta, a town that was depopulated in 1960 with the construction of the Yesa reservoir, as well as the restoration of its hermitages of San Jacobo and San Juan, the recovery of some sections of the Camino, and a network of viewpoints and fountains. All this work has been carried out in order to promote the Camino de Santiago, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, to once again become the cultural and social backbone of this territory, which has been particularly affected by the population and which places its hopes of life in the revitalization of this ancient route of exchange, as well as a means of preserving, protecting, and enhancing the value of local heritage in this use. To the north of the village of Ruesta is the Hermitage of San Juan. As an architectural structure, it ceased to exist in 2001, when the negligence of the administration left the destiny of this unique piece of the Aragonese Camino de Santiago in the hands of ruin. 20 years later, the construction has been restored, recovering the image of this sturdy volume. This hermitage housed one of the most important collections of Aragonese Romanesque art, which is shown to the pilgrim again through a pioneering digital restoration project carried out together with the University of Zaragoza and the Factum Foundation. Outside, and on the field surrounding the hermitage, there is now a memorial made with the stones from the demolition in 2001. All these works have been structured in two master plans, the first concerning the route of French Camino de Santiago through Aragon, and the second a plan for the recovery of the core of Ruesta. Both have been concretized as several projects of execution and construction works with the support and confluence of the various national, regional, and local administrations involved in the area, private initiatives as well as groups linked to the Camino de Santiago and the affected localities. Ruesta is a ruin, a beautiful ruin, testimony to an important history that must be preserved within the problems of heritage management in the populated areas. In 1963, it had about 200 houses and 368 inhabitants, but the construction of the Yesa reservoir led to the flooding of its crops, which were expropriated. This fact would cause a decline not only demographically and socially, but also patrimonially, raising serious doubts about the protection of a huge cultural and landscape heritage, subject to abandonment, plundering, and the advance of natural recolonization. The master plan for the recovery of the Ruesta core has been based on an intense work of research and documentation of the current state of the whole, in order to, after its analysis, propose an intervention in phases from a realistic and sensible approach. Although the main objective of this intervention was to preserve the integrity of the pilgrim's passage, it is proposed that some of the houses on Calle del Centro can be occupied and inhabited through an unprecedented urban camping area next to the pilgrim's hostel, which we call Ruesting. Once again, light and life will come out through the gaps in these silent facades towards Calle del Centro, a realistic and sensible alternative to the phenomenon of abandonment in empty Spain. During the execution of the projects, a specialized study was carried out on the flora and vegetation present in the environment, as well as on the water resources and historical natural sources. The Camino de Santiago must integrate, respect, and enhance the extraordinary environmental wealth of the area. The Hermitage of Santiago Apostol was built at the beginning of the 11th century south of Ruesta. The archaeological discoveries of the cloister, the original apse, and an early medieval necropolis have led to the initial consideration of it as an isolated rustic hermitage, being transformed into the latest restoration as the unveiling of an interesting monastic complex of great importance in the history of the French Camino de Santiago. A niche evoking the Jacobean shrine allows us to look into its interior permanently and accustom our eyes to the darkness in an area where the resources allocated to cultural management prevent regular visits. 8 years later, we can affirm that the restoration of this entire heritage, apparently minor, has acquired an extraordinary territorial dimension and has had a great impact on the region. The assessment of the multiple activities that it can generate in parallel, such as accommodation, hospitality, and tourism, cultural management, and the construction and maintenance of basic infrastructure that guarantee the passage of the Camino de Santiago, as well as the capacity that these activities have to fix population in the area, and of course the media impact that it has acquired, leads us to the idea that today it can really represent a real and effective alternative in the fight against the population and a hope for life for this particularly territory on the borders of Aragon.